Did Dad know about all of this?
I was honest with your father. We did family therapy, but it wasn't about him. It was me.
He was heartbroken. He was better than you. So they did try to work this out, just like not in a way that actually worked for her. I don't know if I like either of these options. To say he was heartbroken feels like guilt tripping her when I really just want to know more information. And saying he was better than her, I mean, they're two different forms of a guilt trip, I guess. Welcome back to Life is Strange 2. Last time we played, we found out just how lovely of a religious community our brother is in. Our brother refused to come with us. They pushed us out. Showed a gun. Great start. We found our mom, too. All fantastic things. So, I think we're about to call Jacob and find out more information about what's going on.
Karen was always into low tech.
Or not.
I don't think it's the one she had back then.
Or not. We're not going to do that. We have the number. Maybe not the cell phone.
Jacob.
The hotel phone. I'm sure this will go very well.
Hello? Jacob, it's me, Sean.
Sean? No way. I've been waiting to hear from you for months. So you found my note in your sketchbook?
Yeah.
Where are you? You have to come here, Sean.
I know.
Oh, we did.
I'm not far. In a motel.
Good. Listen, I can't talk right now. I gotta go.
Wait! Daniel, how's he doing?
Meet me tomorrow afternoon on Brandy Highway. There's a junction just above Haven Point. There's a wild mice ranch billboard there. I'll be there at 4.
Jacob, wait!
I can't talk, Sean. Be there tomorrow. Please.
Yeah, like, Jacob's in the community. He's basically a spy for us. We don't want him getting caught. And I imagine there's also something about cults where I always get the feeling that you want to keep people ignorant when I think of this stuff. Because if people are ignorant, then, and you're their only source of information, then, you know, they rely on you. And there's that also feeling that comes from it. So I also picture these communities being super rural, super low tech. So that kind of fits with what we've seen. And maybe they're in a place where there's no internet connection, like it's just super rural. Maybe even phones cut out, like cell phones. Because again, then suddenly they're reliant on you to be their source of information. So if he has a phone and he's not supposed to, you don't want to get him caught for that.
He couldn't really talk.
Mm-mm. There's so much of a feeling of control about this. Whether that be controlling the congregation or controlling like individual people. How that control happens, I think depends on the situation. But this idea of like, I can't talk for one reason or another, like it feels like because you're going against that idea of control.
This is so messed up. I'm not going out.
Oh.
Better wait for Karen in here.
Then what are we doing? I think we already looked at, oh, we're just gonna literally wait. Sure you don't want to read that Bible?
Let's just rest while I wait for her.
I bet you are tired.
If she comes back.
Her stuff's here, if anything. Hello? Oh.
Hey, sorry it took so long. Fucking store was packed. How you feeling? Nothing broken? Altar boys don't fight fair.
Yeah. I'm okay.
Altar boys. That's what we're
Double
going with.
cheese, no onion, right?
That'll do.
He's looked shocked. Almost like, you remembered my order from years ago? because whenever she left, it was when Daniel was young enough that he doesn't remember his mom at all. She remembers their order. And I guess when we think of a parent who literally does not care, I don't think of a parent who would remember their kid's order. I don't want to say that the dad lied to them about why the mom left, but there is a part of me that wonders if there's an alternative reason for it. Like maybe there was some type of an argument and the dad had somewhat of a part to play in it and he felt like he couldn't admit that to the kids. This is like super reach. Super reach. But the mom's poems focused a lot on like women, like waitresses and stuff like that. And it makes me wonder if, or at least a thought that popped in my head is like a possibility, was maybe the mom had thoughts of like if her own identity wasn't just straight. And maybe she wanted to explore that. Or maybe the dad wasn't okay with that. That is a super far reach because it's just one poem. But I could see that being a reason why like maybe it would be a hard thing to talk about or explain to kids especially. I don't know, it's just another thought that I had of like a reason why maybe this could happen.
Got you some gauze and antibacteria stuff for your eye. Hey, don't wolf that down.
Wolf.
Or at least take a breath.
Like you care.
Sean, I do.
Cool. That was a mom voice.
Come on, Karen. Don't.
I still find it funny that her name is Karen. I don't think that concept was as popular in 2016 or 17 or whenever they made this game. But all things considered, it's kind of funny now, especially how Sean snaps at her.
That doll hurt. It's too late. Where were you when I broke my leg when I was 13? Not with me. When Daniel got a bad flu a couple years ago, you didn't sleep next to him every night. Where were you? Where were you?
Fair enough. So let's talk, because we do have to get your brother out of a cult.
I'm listening.
How did you two survive alone on the road for that long?
I would say magic, sarcastically, but there was an element of powers. We almost didn't, got some help Dad taught us. Ooh. I feel like saying Dad taught us would feel kind of like more of a jab, where it's almost like Dad taught us, you didn't. I don't know the tone of voice that you would use, but considering the tone of voice he's been using up until now, that could very easily be that way. We did get help. There have been so many times when we've been along the road, I don't even know what time she means. Does she mean literally like chapter 1, super early in the game? Does she mean when we were with her parents? Like, you have to be specific. Train hopping, there's a lot. Saying just super general got help makes sense to me because that is true. And could cover all of the times that she's talking about.
We just got lucky. And got some help along the way. Total strangers. We even had our own little family.
Good. How did you go to Beaver Creek?
You know I don't have to answer your questions, right?
You're right. So tell me what you want from me, Sean.
Nothing, Karen. I mean, what do you want from me?
When you look at the interaction between these two characters, Sean is throwing a lot of... Sean is being very antagonistic. He's only being antagonistic when she says something, right? But like his response is immediately like, well, fuck you, well, fuck you, fuck you. Like it's just instantly angry. very suddenly, quickly angry, just spitting shit at her. But then when he says something to her, like, I don't have to answer your questions, she is pretty consistently staying calm. We have yet to see her be angry. The only time she was even really angry was like mom voice angry. And I think sometimes kids hear mom voice and they're like, oh, you're yelling at me, which is understandable from a kid perspective, especially if kids have never heard honest yelling. And I think it's really easy as a parent to sit there and say like, you want to hear yelling, I'll show you yelling. Because like as a parent, it's easy to think like, this is not yelling. That's the only time that she's done anything other than like very calmly respond. She's even had like an open mind in the sense that, again, that one instance where he told her, I don't have to answer to you, I don't have to answer these questions, she admitted like, yeah, you're right, you know, and she shifted gears. She didn't just try to find another way to get around it, to get her question asked. Again, this is a stereotype, but again, like when I picture a mom who would literally just not care about her kids and abandon them and then suddenly come back and like try to pretend like she cared, if she was pretending like she cared, wouldn't she also be the same person who would be more angry and be more defensive? And she's not, which makes me think that there probably was some reason behind it that we just don't know what it is. Maybe she didn't know what it was. Again, like that's why I think like potentially something related to her own identity could be some reason. Like that seems at least plausible to me. I'm not saying that I think it is for sure a reason, but because it may have been something that she didn't know how to put into words to describe to the dad. And if the dad didn't know it because he didn't know what it was, he can't tell the kids about it. Because she's understanding. She's understanding that she hurt him. She's not being defensive about it. She's trying to listen to him as much as you can.
A fucking hug.
Hey, I just want you to know what I did and why, if you care.
So that right there, she basically said, I can explain my side of things to you if you want to hear it, which also gives him the space to say no. If he's too pissed off, if he honestly doesn't give a shit, he can say that. And she's giving him this space to say that. And based on how she's been responding to everything else, I think she would listen. But she's also offering an explanation if that is what he wants. It's almost, this is a very emotional question. It's basically saying, for your own emotional and mental well-being, do you want to hear why your mom wasn't with you for all those times that you were upset about? Like, to the best of my knowledge that I can explain. Or do you not want that reason? Like, almost like, do you want to hold on to that anger? And we can talk about it later if that's also what you want. In a way, she's caring for her kids' emotional needs as much as she can at this current moment. Which is, again, not what I would honestly expect from a parent who would just leave their kid without a reason.
Ask me anything.
AMA. What are you doing here? Why did you leave? Yeah.
All right. Why did you bail on us?
I wasn't meant to be a wife or a mother. I thought I was supposed to. I tried to pretend for many years. But I wasn't happy, and the urge to leave just became unbearable. I had no other choice.
Are you serious? You chose this life. You fell in love. You made your own choices, right?
Making your own choices doesn't mean you can never fool yourself, Sean. After I had Daniel, you were about 8, and Esteban's garage was getting busy. There was so much going on around me, yet somehow I just felt that my own life was just slipping away. Felt like an empty shell. Sean, it was the hardest decision I ever made. I knew I might never see you all again, but I took that responsibility.
I don't know the answer to this. But as she's talking about this, a part of me wonders if she's talking about that emptiness is like an identity type thing. Like she wanted to feel like she had a sense of who she as a person was, and not just who she was as a mother or who she was as a wife. Or if when she says that, it's more depression. This is the kind of thing where if someone was telling me this in person, I would ask for more information. Our society doesn't really talk about postpartum depression or the other mental health things that can come with having a kid, postpartum anxiety, postpartum psychosis, those types of things. Our society often talks about it as though if you are not immediately happy after you have a kid, then there's something wrong with you, and that's not the case. And so I wonder if that is a part of what maybe she's talking about. And it's also incredibly hard to go to a doctor and admit, like, I'm not feeling happy in general, but also, like, I'm not feeling happy as a mom, again, because of how society talks about being a mom and, like, that identity as a mom. And so there's so much of that is incredibly difficult with postpartum stuff. But that's what I wonder, is if maybe she didn't know that postpartum depression was what she was struggling with, and she didn't know how else to deal with it or how to ask for help or all that stuff. It's also hard to ask for help if we don't know the words for what we're experiencing. And then she left, and that was like her only solution. Dad knew or dumped us? Dad knew.
Did Dad know about all of this?
I was honest with your father. We did family therapy, but it wasn't about him. It was me.
He was heartbroken. He was better than you. So they did try to work this out, just like not in a way that actually worked for her. I don't know if I like either of these options. To say he was heartbroken feels like guilt tripping her, when I really just want to know more information. And saying he was better than her, I mean, they're two different forms of a guilt trip, I guess. It's heartbroken.
He was heartbroken for months after you left. Years.
I was too. I was in love with your father. He was the best person I ever met.
But just not enough for you.
Something was missing from the equation, yeah. I was.
What are you doing here? That's enough. What are you doing here?
So what exactly are you doing in Nevada? You live around here?
No. I'm way out in Arizona. Sean, I told you. Your friend Jacob wrote my P.O. box and said Daniel was in trouble. That's it.
Arizona or don't need help? I will accept her help.
Arizona? Holy shit. It's just lizards and rocks.
Yes, I found some.
This game has thrown some insults at both Nevada and Arizona.
Thing there. New York didn't really do me good, so.
Yeah, okay. Think I've heard enough.
I didn't have a choice, Sean. We only have one life. And I didn't want mine to be spent in regrets. For years, I fooled myself, thinking I'd find satisfaction into what society expected me to be, and that was my mistake. I hope someday you can understand that. But I never stopped caring about you. For what it's worth, I am sorry for hurting you and Daniel and Esteban.
Oh, this idea of, is it okay to not be a part of our family anymore if we feel like it's not working for us? Even if it means people get hurt. That is such a difficult question. I don't think there's ever like a right answer for that. Putting that very philosophical question aside, I feel like if we continue to be bitter towards our mom, it's ultimately going to hurt us more in the end. So I feel like saying that we get it, I guess, is one step closer towards forgiveness, not for her, but forgiveness for us. Because ultimately not forgiving her is going to hurt us more than anybody else. I know.
I know you are, Karen. That still doesn't change the way I feel.
Of course not.
Especially not right
I know
now.
I can't change the past, Sean.
Been 5
I
minutes.
don't think you would. I need some air.
If she could change the past. I wonder if the things that she would change would be something like having a conversation with him ahead of time, herself, or writing him letters every few months. So it wasn't just like a complete lack of contact, or making it so he could reach out to her. Because I think then she could live her own life, but then he could feel like he still has a connection to his mom, or even fucking visiting every once in a while, you know, phone calls, right? Something like that, where it's like, you're still living your life. You don't literally have the responsibilities, but then like the kids still feel like they have something, some connection. So even if you could change the past, which of course we can't, I wonder if those would be the ways that it might be changed. Those are the only things that come to my mind that feel like the closest thing to middle ground. Like, Sean would have a right to feel upset. Shoes. Socks and shoes, Sean. Oh, it's the pool. It doesn't look open. Oh, it is. You have all those scars from the glass.
Sean, whatever you want to say to me, this is the time. Let's just get it all out in the open. See what happens.
Did you miss us? Why ghost us? I don't care. What did you do? Let's ask if she missed us.
So, did you ever actually miss us? Or Dad?
Of course, Sean. I do miss your father. He had such a big heart. He could brighten up a rainy day. That was like his superpower. But above all, I missed watching you grow up. See how you saw the world. I missed sharing these moments with you, Sean.
We used to do so much at your loss. Let's say we used to do so much, your loss seems to be throwing it in her face.
We used to do so much stuff. Like when you taught me to ride because Dad sucked. Or when we went camping near Vancouver. Just me and you.
You always loved night skies.
I did stargaze a lot when I was in California.
Trust me, the further south you go, better it gets.
What did you do or why ghost us? Considering what I was just saying before, I feel like asking why she ghosted them. She could have kept in contact even with letters.
I mean, I get you wanted to leave and stuff. Okay. But why would you ghost us like that? Not even a fucking birthday card.
I thought if I vanished, you would all move on. But I wanted to contact you guys so many times.
So she thought that's what they would have wanted, or that's what was best for them. You wanted a clean break. Good thing you didn't. I feel like something like that is really hard. It's a really hard thing to decide. I feel like it would have been hard to ask the kids just in general, because then you would have seen their faces and seen their reactions. And of course the kids would say that they'd want to see her, or they wouldn't have, just like as a spite you, like, you know, screw you kind of a thing. And that would have also been hard to hear. They might have changed their minds as they got older though too. I think sometimes though adults have a hard time asking kids, what do you want? Sometimes adults have this perspective that like they know better than kids, or they know more about what will help them as they get older, kind of a thing. Having that choice can be so powerful though. Then we don't feel like everything is just forced upon us. And also having the ability or the freedom to change our minds too. Because sometimes we don't know what we want, but that's also okay. I don't feel like either of these are good choices. Saying good thing you didn't... I don't know. I feel like maybe if he had had that contact with her, it would have been helpful. Otherwise, why would we ask why she ghosted us?
But you wanted a clean break from us.
I didn't want to be a part-time, pissed-off mother. Not fair to any of you. I left when Daniel was still very young, so he wouldn't remember me.
You hurt him worse, or I wasn't so lucky. Daniel's hurt. As far as his mom comes from this idea of like, I never knew her. And then I feel like Sean's hurt comes from this idea of, I knew her and I had a relationship with her and it wasn't good enough for her to stay. I don't know if one is worse than the other. They're both equally hurtful, just in different ways.
Yeah. I wasn't that lucky.
Oh, Sean, I know. Do you want to tell me how you felt then? Or now?
I felt nothing. No, I felt guilty. Why not tell her? She's giving us the space to do that.
I felt guilty that we weren't enough for you.
No. You guys were the reason to stay. I left because of me. I hope I can make it up to you, Daniel, someday. I can start by getting his ass out of that church cult.
She said, you know, this is because of me. I didn't leave because of you guys. It wasn't that you guys weren't enough. But kids don't see the world that way. Kids are very egocentric. Kids are, the world revolves around me. And that's not like a bad thing, I guess, inherently. That's just developmentally how kids are. And kids are also very black and white, as in it's either all your fault or all my fault. And this stuff changes as kids get older. So when this kind of stuff happens to kids when they're so young, that's often why kids think that it was my fault, because that's just developmentally where they're at. Everything is either all their fault or all someone else's fault, and they're more likely to probably think that it's their fault with something so big like this. That's how most trauma works. We're more likely to think that it's our fault than anything else. Plus that in the fact that kids are often that kind of egotistical. Plus everything is so black and white for kids. All of this stuff means that this is why adults will look at a situation and say, well, that wasn't your fault. But a kid will look at a situation and say, this was totally my fault and I somehow caused it.
Whatever.
What did you do or whatever? What did you do?
So, what did you do when you left? Where did you go?
I pursued some dreams and failed. Learned the lessons. I guess all this time I tried to find out what really matters to me.
Which doesn't involve a husband and 2 kids.
It does to a lot of people, and I totally respect that. Just not to me. I wasn't good at making plans, which is what most of modern life is about, right? School, job, marriage. Ask my mom and dad. They wanted me to follow their rules, their faith. Oh, I tried, but I wanted to find my own way, with no security blanket. Family, religion, social norms. It's just all about security, after all. But it all just looked like a sweet golden jail to me. I tried to escape that.
Sounds immature or worth it. I don't know if it sounds immature. I get the impression that she was never allowed to explore those things. Almost like as a teenager, ideally as a teenager, we are allowed to explore these things to get a better sense of our own sense of individual identity. That's part of almost like the job of being a teenager. Explore shit. Screw up a little bit, hopefully with not big consequences. But if we're not allowed to explore that as a teenager, we don't know who we are really as adults. Sometimes to the point of like which foods we like and don't like. And if we say, like, I feel like that's what the mom is talking about. Our mom is basically saying that everything with her family, and we've met her parents, was forced upon her. So she wasn't allowed the freedom to explore things. She wasn't allowed the freedom to, I don't know, try out violin and see if she liked it or not. Or to try out whatever. I mean, pick a thing. And sometimes parents don't let their kids experiment with this stuff because they'll say, oh, I know for sure that they'll just drop it. Who cares? Like that would be your choice if you were a teenager in that role. But it's not your life that you're kind of talking about there. So you already have somewhat of a sense of your identity, or we're not talking about your identity when we talk about something like that. So who cares if your kid plays violin and drops it? Honestly, at that point, that's fantastic because then the kid knows they don't like it. And that's the whole point of trying stuff like that. So I don't see this as being immature. I feel like the mom never had the freedom to try that, to learn that stuff about herself. And so then she felt lost and didn't feel like she knew who she was, but she knew that she wasn't in a situation that felt right to her, but she didn't know what that situation was. She also talks about this with a lot of knowledge, I guess. Like she's using a lot of words as accurate for what she's describing. But she talks about it as though at the time when this happened, she didn't know all the words. So somewhere along the way, it sounds like she's grown a lot and learned a lot about what it was that caused this to happen for her, or, you know, that kind of thing. And so it sounds like she has done a lot of exploration about her and who she is. So was it worth it?
Yeah. Hope it was worth it.
It was. For now, I've found my place in the world, with like-minded people. I'm at peace with my fuck-ups and my decisions.
Maybe that's why she doesn't get defensive. Choices are so inspiring. Or peace. I feel like asking about the peace. I feel like Sean hasn't been at a place where he can really process everything that he's experienced, yet alone how he feels about his mom. Just like some childhood drama type shit. Who do we know who we can say is honestly at peace right now?
How do you make peace with bailing on your parents, your husband, and your kids?
I know, that's hard to understand. But I think people should know who they are. And not fake it for anybody.
Whatever.
We call like one of those icons that implies like that was an important type decision. Sean's like, whatever. But just because we say whatever, it doesn't mean that that's the case. I wonder how important that is. This idea of learning from someone, that it is important to learn who we are, regardless of what's going on. Especially considering we have Sean, who has stepped into a parent role, which is not learning who we are. That is exactly an instance where we might not experiment with things. We might not find out who we are because we put that aside just to be a parent for our sibling. So I wonder if this is a valuable lesson for Sean to learn.
Sounds so careless. It's like you can't even realize how much pain you've caused.
I do care. It's why I'm here. To help you and your brother. If
Yeah.
I didn't step up to help him now, I couldn't live with myself.
What do you have? Oh. Are you gonna be like, can I have one? Go back inside, ask for smoke, don't ask anything. We smoked before. I'm not saying that we should. Let's not ask for anything.
No, man.
What?
Esteban hated when I smoked. He didn't want me to die an early death. Fuck. Life can be so cynical sometimes.
I remember he would smoke sometimes. Long ago.
We didn't fight much, but when we did, I would go out on the porch and light up so I could calm down. Esteban would come over and ask for a drag. And then we'd just look up at the sky and watch the stars. Or the planes. I do miss that.
I used to do the same with my best friend Lila. Sitting on the porch. Just letting time go.
That's when you know someone is good to you. When you can just sit together, shut the hell up, and watch the universe do its own thing.
We should go back inside. I gotta change this dressing.
Okay, let's go. Sean, I know I can't change the past. Or what I did, but this is about helping your brother. You gotta trust me this one time.
Chapter is called Faith. Know or I know? Let's say I know.
I know. It's still hard. But yes.
Yeah.
We have to be a team to rescue Daniel.
Well, and the amount of trust or faith would be different too. You know, would we trust her more than a stranger? Yes. So her asking for trust doesn't mean we would have to immediately trust her with like literally everything in our life. It might mean trust me to do what I say. In this particular instance, it might be to come back or things like that. And even if we just look at how she's been behaving in this current moment, I feel like we could trust her.
We can do it.
Okay. How?
She also hasn't been asking something that is unreasonable from us. From us. English. Like, she's not saying, you have to forgive me, or you have to forgive me now. Like, she's only expecting, or not expecting, not even expecting. She's only hoping for one baby step. That's it. Which would be not a reasonable thing, but like, she's not expecting us to go from where we currently are to fully healed overnight. Nothing like that, which would be unreasonable. She's also not even saying that that is an honest expectation. She's just hoping for it. So all these things that she's kind of asking for, I feel like she's only asking because Sean wouldn't volunteer that information about how he sees all of this. But even so, like, none of this is unreasonable that she is kind of hoping for. As far as like the speed at which she's hoping to kind of have Sean's help. And even then, she's kind of talking about it as though because of her own personal growth, she doesn't want to continue to be a mom to them. She doesn't want to give them a place to live with her. Daniel's going to have a very hard time with that because Daniel's going to want that. But like, she's kind of talking about like, let me help you and your brother. And then like, I'll put you on a plane to Puerto Lobos. And then like, I'll go back to what I was doing. That's also kind of how she talks about it.
We need to get in touch with this Jacob. He obviously knows a lot more than us about the church.
Well, I called him when you were out. We can meet with him tomorrow.
Okay, good. I also got these, just in case.
Okay.
How many cults have you infiltrated?
Thank you for the eye.
So, do you need any help with that?
Yes or no? I don't think so.
No. I got this.
So, you feel like telling me the story here?
Not really.
I didn't mean the no to be like pushing her away, which might be how the game reacted with it. But like, I think the whole intention with learning how to clean the eye was so that we could do it ourselves.
Here, try this on.
I guess we're not going to get a glass eye, are we?
How do I look?
Great.
Thanks.
Big day tomorrow, so we should get some rest.
Yeah. I'm ready to get Daniel.
Have a cult. They finally said it. Jeez. I don't know what I was expecting. This is where I'm gonna have to stop. I mentally cannot handle too much of this game at one time. There's too much. So this is where we're gonna have to stop. We have had a very important conversation with our mother about why she left us when we were a child. Just no big deal. And this idea of how do we balance our own personal identity with society's obligations and what society tells us. And I don't think there's a right or wrong answer for that. But these choices can hurt people. So these choices do have consequences sometimes, but how do we balance these things? That's a big shrug emoji. I feel like that is the big theme of that conversation. This idea of Sean's mom, my impression is that she wasn't allowed to explore her own sense of personal identity. So she felt lost at that, and she wanted that opportunity to do that, but then she felt locked into her family. So she decided to leave her family to explore what her own identity was, even if that meant that she hurt her family. Not that she didn't care for them, not that she didn't have empathy for their situation, but she decided that it was her life, and she wanted to be happy in her life. I think there's another element to this that the game didn't talk about, this idea that if we are miserable, like as a mom, will that have consequences for the people around us? So she decided to leave. Sean didn't really get that for the reasoning why, and Daniel didn't. So this is Sean's first time hearing it. I imagine that as time goes on, he'll actually be able to process that. To be fair, I don't think he's processed basically anything of what's happened in this game. He hasn't had time. It's just been like traumatic thing after traumatic thing after traumatic thing. I'm curious how Daniel will react to seeing his mom. Or I imagine he's probably seen her, but like knowing that it's her, so putting two and two together. There's a lot. This chapter's a lot. This chapter's a lot. Anyways, I am gonna have to stop here, and I would love your feedback on the game in the video, and I will see you next time.